Welcome back, everybody, to another deep dive. And today we're looking into work-life balance. Or should I say, we're kind of flipping that on its head
Interesting.
because a survey was done with over 10,000 people,
Oh, wow. Okay.
and no one chose balance when asked what they most desired in relation to their work and life. Instead,
Right.
they all went for the idea of satisfaction.
Well, that's really fascinating. I mean, it kind of makes you wonder if maybe this whole concept of work-life balance, if maybe it's flawed from the start.
Right.
Like, are we setting ourselves up for failure, maybe?
Yeah, so to guide us through this conversation today, we're using Matthew Kelly's book, Off Balance.
Yeah.
And he argues that, you know, satisfaction is actually a more potent goal than balance.
Okay.
And he gives us this roadmap in the book to kind of help us achieve satisfaction.
So where do we even begin with this? Where does he start?
Well, in the prologue, he starts with this really captivating parable about a driven investment banker who meets this very contented fisherman. And the banker, he wants to help this fisherman. He lays out this 25-year plan, like you could amass all this wealth
Oh, wow.
if you do this, this, and this. And the fisherman's like, well, what would I do after that? And the banker's like, well, then you could fish all day. You could sleep in late. And the fisherman's like, well, that's what I'm doing now.
That's great.
So he already has it.
Yeah. I love those kinds of stories because it does highlight how, in our modern world, there is this kind of obsession
Mm-hmm.
with having it all and doing all the things. And it makes you kind of question, are we missing the point?
Right. And I think what he's getting at is we're chasing this idea of balance. And it might not even be achievable, but
Uh,
what we're really seeking is uh, a life that feels fulfilling.
Right, right. Actually, that's a great point because Kelly did some surveys, where he asked people about, what they think of when they think about work-life balance. And what he found was fascinating. A lot of people would actually end up describing elements of a fulfilling life.
Huh.
So it's almost like we're using the wrong term.
Right. So it seems like balance is kind of, this means to an end, but satisfaction is that real goal.
Exactly.
So how does he even define satisfaction?
Yeah.
Is it that fleeting pleasure?
Right.
You eat a cupcake or you buy a new outfit. Are you satisfied? Or is it something deeper? And he goes to the dictionary definition of satisfaction, which is the fulfillment or gratification of a desire, need, or appetite.
That's a good point. It kind of challenges you to think about, okay, what am I pursuing? What am I spending my time and
Yeah.
energy on? Is it things that align with my deeper needs and desires or just fleeting things?
Yeah, and I think he believes that we can actually cultivate this lasting satisfaction by,
Mhm.
consciously designing systems in our life,
Okay.
so that they support our values and goals.
Yeah. So it's not just hoping it's going to work out. It's about being really intentional about it.
Yeah. He uses the example of New Year's resolutions.
No.
We all start out with these good intentions, but without some sort of system, those resolutions just crumble.
Right. It's like going on a road trip with no map and no snacks
Right.
or, no plan.
Yeah, exactly. So Kelly gives us this 5-step system, and it begins with a self-assessment.
Okay.
He wants us to think about what is causing us dissatisfaction in our personal and professional lives.
So you have to kind of shine a light on the things that are maybe draining you a bit
Exactly.
and maybe need some attention.
Are there certain commitments or tasks
Hmm.
that are just consistently just draining our energy?
Yeah.
And then he moves into prioritizing, which sounds simple enough, but
Oh, it's hard.
it's not. It's one of the hardest things we can do. And he gives this exercise in the book where you rank different areas of your life
Mhm.
in order of importance.
Yeah.
And he uses the example of Jim in his book. So Jim's priorities were his children, his health, work career, finances, and then social life.
Okay, so that might not resonate with everyone.
Right, but that was his. And it's fine if yours are totally different.
Right. The main point is to figure out what matters most to you.
And then he moves into this idea of what he calls core habits.
Core habits are
And
there.
these aren't, these big, huge gestures.
Uh-huh.
They're small, consistent actions that you do every day, but they have this massive cumulative effect.
Oh, I like that. So, like, what kind of things are we talking about here?
He's a big advocate for drinking a gallon of water a day. But he also includes things like working out for 45 minutes, meditating for 30 minutes, doing a deliberate act of love towards his wife,
Oh, wow.
and consuming 2,000 calories.
Okay, so very specific things that, like you said, maybe seem small, but if you
Mhm.
do them every day, they can add up.
They build that foundation. And then he talks about how to avoid feeling overwhelmed
Right.
or like we're not really making progress in life.
Yeah.
And he introduces this concept of a weekly strategy session.
Okay.
And he suggests that we actually designate a key project or focus for each day of the week.
So you're not just getting pulled in all these different
Right,
directions.
so we're not just reacting to the latest,
Urgent thing. Yeah, I see that all the time.
And he also says, don't neglect those small tasks,
Right.
those little things that pile up and take up space in your mind.
Right.
He says, schedule time for those so that they're not draining your energy.
That makes sense. Yeah.
And then finally, he emphasizes accountability.
Oh, that's a good one. And not just in the workplace, right?
Not just in the workplace, but also in your personal life.
Okay, so how do you recommend we do that?
He says, schedule a personal quarterly review with someone that you trust.
Okay, that's interesting.
Someone that's going to hold you accountable for making progress towards those things that you've identified as most important to you.
And is that something that he does personally as well?
Yeah, he actually he gives a really funny example of relying on his friend to hold him accountable for his weekly bike rides. And he says, I don't want to get out of bed on those cold mornings.
Sure.
But he knows that if he didn't have his friend expecting him,
You wouldn't do it, yeah.
he probably wouldn't go. So
So it's kind of like you need that extra little push sometimes.
we all do. Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think what Kelly's showing us is that even those people that preach, self-discipline and motivation, everybody needs a little help sometimes.
We all do. So it seems like what we've covered so far is, setting the stage for really taking control of your life
Mm-hmm.
and building that satisfaction. But I'm really curious to hear like how this translates into real world actions and how we can create a life that actually feels truly fulfilling.
Right. And I think that's what we'll dive into in the next part of this deep dive.
Awesome. I'm looking forward to it.
Okay. So welcome back, everybody. Let's pick up where we left off. We were talking about how to kind of create this life that feels fulfilling.
And Kelly uses a really nice analogy in his book to illustrate this. He compares life to a tapestry, like intricately woven with all these threads that represent our relationships and our experiences, our achievements, everything. And it's a nice way to kind of visualize this idea that, satisfaction isn't about achieving one specific thing. It's this ongoing process of weaving together all those elements that create a really rich and meaningful life.
Oh, that's beautiful. I like that. So it's not about finding one perfect thread.
Exactly.
It's the combination.
It's the whole picture, right? But obviously, within that tapestry,
Right.
some threads are going to hold more weight than others.
Right.
And we only have so much time and energy, right? So we want to make sure we're investing those wisely in the things that really matter.
So how do we even know which threads to choose?
Well, it goes back to understanding your core values and priorities. What are those things
Right.
that are truly non-negotiable for you? What are the experiences and relationships that bring you the most joy?
Hmm.
And once you figure those out, that's kind of like your blueprint. That helps you make decisions that actually align with what you truly care about.
So it's like a guide for a fulfilling life.
Exactly,
Yeah.
yeah. But remember, it's not a fixed destination either.
Right.
It's more like a journey because as we change, as our priorities shift,
Right.
you might need to revisit that tapestry and maybe add some new threads, let go of some old ones.
Yeah.
Life's constantly evolving.
So how does this apply to like everyday decisions?
Well, he gives a really relatable example in the book where he talks about having to choose between a late night work meeting
Hmm.
or going to your child's birthday party.
Oh, that's a tough one. I've been there.
And we all face those kinds of dilemmas, right? And in the moment, that meeting might feel super important.
Right.
But in the grand scheme of things, celebrating with your loved one,
It's probably more important.
it's likely to have a more lasting impact, right? It's about recognizing which threads will ultimately create a more satisfying and authentic tapestry.
So we're not saying to just ignore work completely. It's about
Not at all.
prioritizing.
It's about recognizing what truly matters to us and making those choices consistently.
But that's easier said than done, right?
Oh, absolutely. We all experience moments of weakness,
Yeah.
distraction, temptation. That's where self-control comes in.
Okay, what does he say about that?
Well, he makes it clear that self-control isn't about denying yourself pleasure or living like a monk.
Okay.
It's really about making conscious choices
Mm-hmm.
that align with your long-term goals, even when it's hard.
Even when you want that cupcake.
Exactly, or that new gadget you don't really need.
Right, right.
And it's about recognizing that even those seemingly small choices They add up.
They can have that big impact. Yeah.
And when you consistently make those choices that support your goals, that's what creates momentum and helps you build that life you really want.
And he also talks about applying these ideas to our professional lives as well.
Yeah, he's a big believer in finding satisfaction in your career, not just seeing it as a means to a paycheck.
So how do you actually do that?
Well, he suggests creating a personal mission statement for your work.
Oh, okay.
What do you hope to achieve? What
Oh.
kind of legacy do you want to leave behind?
Hmm.
And that becomes your guiding compass for making decisions and making sure your work is actually contributing to a bigger picture.
Right. So it's not just about the day-to-day tasks. It's about aligning your
Okay.
professional life with
With your values.
your values. And he talks about accountability in the workplace
Yeah.
as well.
It's just as important there, right?
He recommends finding someone, whether it's a colleague or mentor,
Mm-hmm.
someone that can support you and challenge you to stay committed to your professional goals as well.
So it's like having a cheerleader, but also someone who keeps you honest.
Yeah, he gives the example of his friend that holds him accountable for his weekly bike rides.
Oh, yeah, right. He wouldn't do it without his friend.
Yeah. He wouldn't do it.
Yeah.
So it shows that even the people that we perceive as like super disciplined and motivated, they still need that support.
We all do, yeah. So it seems like Kelly's system is really about taking control of your life, both personally and professionally, and building that satisfaction from the ground up. But I'm curious to hear about like the deeper philosophical side of things.
Right.
Like what are the guiding principles
Right.
that he talks about that can really lead to a fulfilling life?
Right. And I think those are the things that we can explore next.
Yeah.
Welcome back, everybody. We've been talking about why satisfaction is so important and how Matthew Kelly's system can help us achieve that. And we've looked at, the practical strategies like identifying sources of dissatisfaction, clarifying those priorities, forming those core habits, planning our week strategically, and then remembering the importance of accountability.
Right, all those practical steps.
But now I think we should kind of shift gears a bit and explore what I think is really the heart of Kelly's philosophy, which is he lays out these 3 principles for a truly fulfilling life.
Okay.
And I think these principles work as a compass to navigate all the complexity in our modern world.
So they help us find meaning beyond just, the quick fixes
They
and
can
the
fix it.
fleeting pleasures.
They're more timeless.
Yeah, I like that.
So his first principle is it's simple, but really profound. Strive to become the best version of yourself.
So simple, yet it's easy to forget, isn't it?
It is.
It's like we're all works in progress
Yeah.
and we're always growing and evolving.
And he believes this principle should really guide every aspect of our lives, whether it's our relationships, our careers, our personal development, how we interact with the world around us.
So it's about making choices that support our growth and not settling for mediocrity.
Exactly, yeah. And then his second principle is that virtue is the ultimate organizing principle for a fulfilling life.
Virtue. Okay. So what does he mean by that?
Well, he argues that living a virtuous life, embodying qualities like honesty and integrity,
Wow.
compassion, courage, those kinds of things.
Those are good ones?
Those are the things that are really essential for lasting happiness
Hmm.
and fulfillment. It's not just about following the rules, it's about building that character
Right.
that reflects our deepest values.
So it's about who we are at our core.
And then his third principle is the power of self-control. And he emphasizes that self-control isn't about deprivation
Mm-hmm.
or restriction. It's about having that discipline to make choices that align with our long-term goals, even when they're hard,
Right.
even when we have to delay gratification.
So it's about making choices that are good for us in the long run, even if they're not always easy in the moment.
And I think these 3 principles really work together as this roadmap towards a life that's full of purpose and meaning
Mm-hmm.
and satisfaction. And I know what you're thinking. These principles are great in theory, but how do we actually apply them?
Right, exactly. How do we actually make them work in our real messy lives?
So he gives us a few tools.
Mm-hmm.
He suggests that before we make any choice,
Mm-hmm.
we pause and we ask ourselves, will this decision help me become a better version of myself?
Oh, I like that. It's a simple question, but it's powerful.
Yeah. And it can really help to align our actions with our values.
So it helps you make decisions that are truly in line with who you want to be.
He also reminds us that every choice we make, even the ones that seem small, They have a consequence.
Right, everything has a ripple effect.
We need to be mindful of that.
Huh.
He recommends that we create a personal code of conduct.
Okay, what's that?
It's just like a set of guidelines that outlines your values and commitments
Okay.
so that it serves as this compass to guide your decisions.
So it helps you stay true to yourself, even when things get tough.
Exactly. And he also says it's really important to surround yourself with people that support your growth and challenge you to be better.
So like a supportive community.
We're all interconnected, and our choices, no matter how small, they really impact the world around us.
It's that ripple effect again.
And Kelly's message overall is one of hope and empowerment. He believes that everybody can have a satisfying life no matter what their circumstances are.
It's about taking control and making choices that bring us joy.
And as we conclude our deep dive today into Matthew Kelly's Off Balance, I want to leave you with 10 key takeaways that I think can help you cultivate satisfaction in your life. Number 1, satisfaction is a better goal than balance.
It's about what truly fulfills you.
Number 2, you can't have it all, so choose what truly matters.
Make conscious choices.
Number 3, every choice has a cost.
Be mindful of the trade-offs.
Number 4, systems drive behaviors leading to desired outcomes.
Create structures that support your goals.
Number 5, Matthew Kelly's system is a powerful 5-step roadmap to satisfaction.
It gives you a practical framework for creating a life that you love.
Number 6, identify sources of dissatisfaction as a starting point.
Figure out what's not working.
Number 7, define your priorities and commit to them.
Know what matters most.
Number 8, small core habits have a huge cumulative effect.
Consistency is key.
Number 9, plan your week strategically to avoid getting kidnapped by the urgent.
Be proactive with your time.
And number 10, embrace accountability to stay on track.
Find someone who supports you.
I hope this has been helpful for everyone.
Me too. It's been a great discussion.
I encourage you to, revisit these takeaways and think about how you can apply them to your own life. Satisfaction is a journey, not a destination.
It's a process.
And we all have the power to create a life that we truly love. So thank you for joining us on this deep dive. And until next time, keep striving for that satisfaction.